And I'm going to hand it over to Eric.
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. It's been wonderful that the church has supported us on this mission. Just to give a brief overview and maybe remind some of you, and actually probably remind some of the team as well, that this was a mission trip to Tanzania. It was for 2 weeks, from June 23rd to July 6th. And the mission trip was to engage the local population in awareness, advocacy, and education about disabilities. It kind of turned into a bunch of smaller little missions that we ended up doing, and I kind of tried to categorize the presentation tonight so that we can kind of get little glimpses of each of those mission segments. But one of the big things we did that was probably the physically hardest thing was the construction at the local primary school in the morning. We mixed concrete by hand with shovels and buckets, and we were pouring floors for not only a new bathroom, but also ramps, concrete ramps for wheelchair accessibility up to the classrooms. Not only the existing classrooms, but also they were building a new set of classrooms. I have kind of a slide presentation that I want to show you guys as well. But also then in the afternoons, we went to the local church where we worked with not only the neighborhood children, but also the disabled children. So the word spread, and whenever the word spreads, then you're always going to get a lot of the neighborhood kids whenever the Americans or the white people are there. Mzungus, thank you, Kathy. The community is such that, and the other thing is most of the children are on school vacation for a couple of weeks. So we had probably a larger collection of children than we otherwise normally would. And so we spent time with the disabled children and also the neighborhood children, showing love, showing that you can play and interact with the disabled kids. And I think that was really important for the neighborhood kids to see as well. We have some other stories to tell about that as well. And then along with that, both the morning and the afternoon sessions, we got pulled out one or two at a time to go on home visits. This organization, Kupenda for the Children, who's led by Cindy Bauer, organized these home visits. So she would take a couple different people every time, and she would go off to a home, do a home visit, try to advocate, educate, make the parents aware, if they aren't, what the disability actually is, because there's a whole problem in Tanzania of just with diagnoses. And again, we have some stories. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. And also we had meetings with the parents, meetings with the pastors, and meetings with the government officials. And we have some stories to tell you about that. And we had some other fun along the way that really helped with group bonding. So let me get this...
Eric, can you begin by telling them about how our 6 people were not the only ones on this trip?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So our group was made up of, so from First Baptist, it was myself, Elizabeth, Ben, Tim, Kathy, and Jenny. So there's 6 of us from our church here. And there was a second church, Hope Community Church, in Newburyport, Massachusetts. And from that church, we have Andy, Kevin, Mark, Nancy, Georgia, Rachel, Deanie, and Nicole. And then the leaders were Cindy from Kupenda and Deborah from Kulia. And now Kulia is the other organization that we teamed with, and that's an orphanage. And their big plan is to build a village for orphan children in Tanzania.
And Leonard and George.
And then we have a bunch of the other local people, or what I would call local. They were Leonard and George from Kenya. And they came down from Kenya to Tanzania to help. So that was Leonard, George, and then we also had other people that from Tanzania: Rebecca, Anima, Paul, and Pastor Romney. And the list can go on and on and on. So,
Stephen, our driver.
Stephen, our driver, that's right. Yes, that's right. So anyway, and to finish answering this question, those of you that remember, this trip has been 2 years in the planning. And our group makeup, that eventually came down to 6 of us, it kind of ebbed and flowed through the couple of years as we were trying to plan this trip. We had some, stumbling blocks. We were supposed to go last year, and we decided to wait. Supposed to go this year. We were originally supposed to go to Kenya. That didn't work out. And then through a series of very fortunate God-led events, we ended up going to Tanzania. All right. So now we're going to get to the shit here. So, when we first, so I'm just going to give a brief overview of of what happened on the trip, and then I'll invite different people up to talk about individual experiences. So, and those individual experiences will probably not involve too much as far as the. So that's where we are. Too much audio presentation. So this will, or the audio visual. So this will be the our overall slideshow that we'll have. So here we are on. Let's see if I can get rid of that. Go away. Here we are on the Indian Ocean. The first night we got there, we went to a ocean resort and were able to spend one night and then the next morning at the ocean resort. And we were able to enjoy a little time to start bonding. If I could get this to stop showing me the map, that would be good. All right. So this is a view out of the hotel windows rooms.
How many nights were you
This is just a one night. Yes, so basically we landed in Dar es Salaam, which is a large city in Tanzania, right on the Indian Ocean, around midnight. So by the time we got checked into the hotel, it was around, I'm going to guess, 1:30, 2 a.m., and most of us were pretty tired. So here's some of us swimming. Actually, the water was extremely warm. Yeah. So I would like to not show that. Well, I guess we'll just leave that there. We all know we're in Tanzania.
Get one of those arrows he has to do it.
What's that?
There's a couple of arrows up and down.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. So there was actually also a big, it was clearly a ship that hadn't been used in at least 15, 20 years. So there's a nice panoramic of the beach that we were at. And now we're in the...
That was our second one.
Yeah, and this is our second bonding trip at the safari. So this is where we were at the safari. And and again, this was all designed so that not only we'd have some time on the ocean and then at the safari, it was designed so that we could meet each other, because we had these two churches, these two groups of people that didn't know each other. So this was a really good move, I guess, as far as getting to know each other before we started working with the children and the construction.
Wildlife there. Wonderful wildlife.
See all the wildlife taking pictures. I didn't write down the names of all of the different birds, but we saw a lot. So we had two of these safari vehicles that we went around in. They're like these Land Rover type units where
There's the babies with mom and dad. The elephant there on one side.
How far away when you did the safari? How
staying in the Bondas, a little, it was, I forgot the name of the place now, but it was right in. Mikumi, thank you. Yes, it was right in the park. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the last night, I'm sorry, we were just there for one night, but the next morning after we were there, there was a female lion that came through the camp.
And woke us up.
So this is called the bobo tree. For those of you I know, a lot of people call it the upside down tree. And there's Kathy. And this happened to be a very, very old bobo tree, so they had ladders going up to be able to climb.
They weren't happy with Jenny and I because we climbed the highest.
Yeah. Nice group photo.
Out by the hippo pool.
Yeah, the hippo pool. And they did make some these are man-made lakes or ponds that they made here to support some of the wildfire life. Yeah, there's our male lion that we ran across in the evening. And you can see the lion got very close to, the lion he knew he was king and he didn't let anybody to really bother him. Now this is the next morning. This was the female lion that had gone through our camp. Just beautiful, beautiful image. So I didn't include a lot of different photos of the.
Do you have the birds with the tails that go up and down?
I do not. No, I didn't snag one of those. Those are the wildebeest there. So this is the lodge that we stayed at, the panoramic. The bondas are over here. This is where we ate. And there's a picture of the bondas that we stayed in. And we were told not to walk in the grass because there were snakes and scorpions. And this is called a bobo fruit, which apparently you can eat. I don't know if anybody did. I didn't. And there's the sign of the Mikumi. So here we are now in the construction area at the school, at the Chilinzi Primary School. This is how they do the mixing the concrete by hand. This is one of the ramps that we're finishing up at where the new bathroom is going to be.
It was after Eric took out that tree stump. Put it out.
Right. So here we're walking to a Maasai village. You saw the videos as we were eating of the tribe. So these are just some photos of that scene. We spent maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half in the Maasai village. This is typical for the type of house they have, mud and straw. The bus did a really good job getting as far as they did. The bus driver had to get out with his machete a couple of times to hack down some branches and such, and then eventually we had to walk the rest of the way in. So you can see they must have to patch their mud hut on a regular basis.
What do they do for work there, Eric?
I'm sorry?
What do they do for work to make money?
Well, there's actually a lot of shops set up. So I think most of them are farmers. You know, of the parents that I saw. I'm just on this for a second.
And like labor too. So there'll be a lot of people who, because there's no trucks to bring things into the market because trucks don't get so far. So they'll have people with giant wheelbarrows that they just they're kind of basically carts that are meant for like horses or cattle or something that they just have like 4 or 5 people pushing full of whatever product.
Right. This town that we stayed in was kind of a crossroads of a few different routes. It's the main route, people coming down from Kenya, from Mombasa that want to travel down and get to Dar es Salaam. They have to go through to Lindsay. So there's a big market, whole area, and again, you probably saw while we were eating dessert, we took some video in the bus. That all of that was in the town. So there's just a lot of commerce going on. Again, trying to attract to the people that are going through. But the majority of the people that I did interviews with said that their husbands were farmers.
And
We-
cattle, right?
Cows were strictly Maasai. We didn't see a lot of cattle per se. We ate very little beef. But we saw a lot of, there were goats and sheep. And then of course just they were in the middle of their growing, or actually, I say it was a growing season, their rainy season is from January to March, I think I said. So, you look at the cornfields around here and they all look real healthy. The cornfields there, some were making it, some were not. So that's just their climate there.
And I think that when we were there, we only got a few sprinkles and never rained.
So here's one of the ramps that we were going to extend. You can see it's a little too steep, and they didn't realize that when they were building it, but trying to get a wheelchair up that ramp was not going to be possible. So we extended or made the slope not quite as great, so the wheelchairs. And this is the new school that they were going to be building. Now this is part of the lavatory that Tim, you can see there, is helping. We're actually extending some of the wall to make one of the stalls wheelchair accessible. And this here, let me pause this just for a second. I didn't include a lot of pictures here, but this floor was already poured by our group. So the floor and the ceiling, we didn't actually do the roof. I think the roof was done by the locals. But the condition of the old concrete floor was not good at all. So the first part of the job, which I was not involved with, was hammering out all the old concrete and then smoothing that, putting new concrete down. This has all been set now, and then this is the final skim coat that they're putting on.
Ben, Ted, and myself worked a lot on hammering out the floor, and that was the
Yeah.
only thing during the trip that made me sick because I got overexhausted.
Yeah, so I know Ben's going to be talking more about that in a little bit. So. Now here we are in the church. This is our afternoon activities where we went to the local church, worked with the neighborhood children and the disabled children. The types of disabilities we saw, and you see we're doing a lot of different crafts with them. We saw some albinoism. We saw autism. We saw cerebral palsy. We saw a lot of different limb handicaps.
A lot of deafness, because I know in Kenya they
Yes.
have a lot of kids who are deaf.
Yes, that's right.
There was a deaf classroom in this.
Well, this is our friend Edie I mentioned to a few weeks ago at church. He's had this for about he's had 3 years, and it was heartbreaking when Tim and I first saw it. So you can see this ramp is slowly taking shape. That's right. Yeah, bucket. So we mix it all on the ground, and then we'll shovel it into the buckets to move it. Yeah. A few of us. There's Jenny having some fun with the. Now I did mention that the school is on break. For those parents that can afford it. They get extra schooling because the test to go from the primary school, where this is, to the secondary school apparently is very difficult. Their kind of education over there, as it was explained to me, is all rote. So it's all memorization. There's very little conceptual learning to be able to think on your own and give your own answers to the questions. So the teachers expect, when you give an answer to a question on a test, they expect it to be exactly as they said it in the class. So, as you can imagine, if you're not learning concepts, but you're learning memorization, that can get actually quite difficult. And so for those parents that can afford it, and these are the children that we're looking at, for those parents that are lucky enough to be able to get some extra education, to be able to pass that test so they can move on to the secondary school. So they have a ways to go in the education system for sure. You see, Jenny was really entertaining me. And now we're back at the church again. And we did some vacation Bible school type things. We did some skits in the front for the children. These kids love getting their pictures. It's kind of hard to whittle the pictures down, I'll tell you. These here are the Kulia children, and I think they start right here, but you can't see him. And I forget, do you guys remember how many Kulia? I think there were 8 Kulia children, is
There
that
are
right?
8, I think there are 9 with the baby.
9 with the baby?
I think
Yeah.
there are 8 children that are in school and then a 9th with the baby. Or it's
Yeah.
with the baby.
Pastor Romy and his wife are taking care of these orphans.
That's
Her
right.
name was Mama Ruth.
Right. So these Kulia children are, thank you, Kathy, are orphans in Tanzania, and they're being cared for by the Kulia organization. And they give them a good education, they feed them regularly, and they love them. And the mother, what was her name again?
Mama Ruth.
Mama Ruth. Okay, I don't think I ever met her. Their model is for every 8 children that they put into a house that they're going to build, there will be one guardian, or mother as they're called, to care for the 8 children. And that's their model as they continue to, or start to build this village. Here's the church that's under construction. So this is right next door to the church that's made out of mud walls and a metal roof. And you can see they're really getting things accomplished. It'll still take a while. And there's the inside of the church. So it's going to be a lot bigger. I'll tell you what. In the middle of the day, when the inside of the church, in the middle of the day, when that place gets hopping, it gets hot. And I'm sure you guys can talk to the group about the church service on that Sunday morning. I was not able to be there for that, but I heard it got quite warm. So you can see this would be a big relief for them.
Well, not just that, I think Pastor Romy said if we build this, more people will come.
This is the place that we stayed, called the Bush Guest House. Very minimal accommodations, but it was comfortable. My gosh, I'm not sure how this...
Jenny,
You can see Jenny's... Now we're back on the ocean. Now we're back on the safari.
That ship's just sitting there?
Yeah, that's right. It was just a true shipwreck.
They left it there so that the animals, they got crabs that are all over it, so.
Yeah, it's kind of like a natural reef. I guess it's probably what it's turning into. But, yeah. So this, I think there were a few exceptions, but the majority of our rooms that we stayed in at the Bush Guest House, these were the bathrooms.
It was half and a half. Right?
It wasn't half and half?
Yeah.
Okay, so one side had actual toilets,
The
and
girls.
then the other half had these latrines. And,
Eric, they're called bomb site toilets.
called them latrines. And the shower is right where I'm standing. So, and the drain is the toilet. So when you're brushing your teeth, don't drop your toothbrush. That's what I was most concerned about. So I had one toothbrush.
And Tim and Ben's drain was the slowest of the house.
That did get fixed. And so now we're back to the school, primary school, and this is as we're starting to build the bathrooms. We've got a before and after picture of the concrete that we're pouring. There's another house with a picture of the book,
I
which
didn't
gets
realize it was writing on there.
yeah, up on the top. Yeah.
I never saw
Yeah.
that.
So here's a good example of how we mix this concrete. See, Tim's ready to work.
Standing there.
And, you know, it depended on if we were working on just a skim coat or if we were, you know, building a larger area, whether we added the stone to it or not.
So was that a concrete form that you mixing the concrete in, or?
No,
Or
it was just in the
just
ground.
mud?
We made that to be the form. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, there's Jenny up in that hobo tree. And there's Edie. Yeah. That's a great picture of Edie. So for those of you that didn't hear when I mentioned at church, I think it was 2 Sundays ago, or last Sunday, his foot really, it touched all of us in the group. And it was almost a spontaneous thing that we were going to give money to help his family get him to treatment. And that treatment has happened, and the treatment will be continuing. I haven't gotten too many details about what exactly that treatment is, but the good news is he did have to go to Dar es Salaam, which is about a 2 or 3 hour drive from Chilinzi where we were. But the good news is he is able to get treated a couple times a week at the local Chilinzi clinic, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
I think that was the first day, I think that was the Saturday that they did all the feeding.
On the 27th, yes. Yeah. And this is looks like this is actually the parent meeting. There's a good picture. That's the church. That is their church right now. And then right next to here, over here, is where the new church is being built. And this is inside the Bush Guest House, and the lounge room on the other side was our dining facility, which is right here. There's Mark and Nancy. They were a married couple that came with us from Hope Community Church. And there's Ben. I love this picture, Ben. I love it.
It's like an E.T. picture.
Yeah.
It's like E.T. You ever seen E.T. and all the...
This is my all-time favorite picture of all the different pictures.